The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Bronxnet or the program underwriters.
Hey, hello, welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren Jaime. Today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up on today's show, we'll update you on the latest in the world of politics. Afterwards, New York State Senator Gustavo Rivera introduces Dakota's law in an aim to protect children in New York State from lead poisoning. Then, Mind Builders is actually preparing for their annual open house street festival. We'll tell you more later on in the show. And then after that, what's hashtag IAMME? Well, a campaign dedicated to all who choose to live in light after stepping out of the shadows of societal standards and stand out through their stories. Stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I'm your host, Daren Jaime, and today is Wednesday, September 5th. Can you believe we're already in September? Yes, we are. You're watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. Now, we also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is now being broadcast simultaneously live on MNN's channel. And we want to also encourage you to stay connected to us. And how? Well, you can find out more about us at Twitter at Bronxnet TV. And Facebook at Open Bronxnet Television. Well, a lot has certainly been going on throughout the past week. It's time now to update you with some Bronx updates. On September the 12th, the Charter Revision Commission 2019 will hold a public hearing. It'll be held at Lehman College at 6 p.m. to listen to your thoughts on what works and what does not work in our New York City government. Now, this is a very important hearing for our borough. The New York City Charter, established by the state legislature in 1897, is the city's constitution, creating the framework for our government. Now, the Charter establishes key institutions, including city agencies such as the Department of Housing Preservation and Development, Sanitation, NYPD, 311, and more, as well as controls how we spend our tax dollars and how decisions are made about changes to our neighborhoods. Well, in other news, human remains found in 2 Bronx parks led to the arrest of 2 suspects in the death of 25-year-old Lisa Marie Velasquez. A city parks department worker made the gruesome discovery last Friday. 2 bags containing human remains were found near the entrance of Crotona Park. Another set of body parts washed ashore Tuesday night at Barretto Point Park in Hunts Point. Now, police say on Wednesday they've confirmed the connection between both discoveries and that the remains belong to Velasquez. Police also say they believe that Velasquez was beaten to death with a hammer by Daquan Wheeler, who has since been arrested. Ciara Martinez, the friend who Velasquez went to help, was also arrested. The couple is charged with murder, manslaughter, and concealing a corpse. Family members say they're in the final stages of planning Velasquez's funeral, which will be held this week. Now, a GoFundMe account was created to help raise money for funeral expenses. Now, for more on this story, we encourage you to stay connected to us here at Bronxnet.com. Well, August 12th was a special day for Mashalou Library. It received about a novel $15,000 in state funds. Now, the source of the newly distributed funds comes from discretionary funding of $60,000. The funds were evenly distributed to the Allerton, Pelham Parkway, Van Nost, and Morris Park libraries. About $1.25 million, a million and a quarter, how about that? It remains in the discretionary budget, specifically for capital requests. Now, potential projects have yet to be confirmed, located on 205th Street and Perry Avenue. The library is next to Wayland Park, which was recently reopened after undergoing a year-long $1.8 million reconstruction project. A specific budget allocation for how the $15,000 will be used is yet to be determined. Now, if you want more information on this story, we encourage you to visit norwoodnews.org, and you can find out all the latest with that. Well, that's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. Your whole world changes in an instant. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke.
I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911.
Protect the ones you love.
Spot a stroke fast.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Chiru has no choice. She and millions like her walk miles a day for dirty water. But together, we can end their walk by providing clean water close by. Instead of spending hours walking to get water that makes them sick, girls can be in a classroom and moms will gain back time to care for their families. Sons and daughters can grow up strong, finally free of sicknesses. It's true. When you just add water, you change a life. Learn more at worldvision.org.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
And we are back here on Open. Dakota's law is a uniquely comprehensive bill seeking to implement stronger and more proactive measures to address lead poisoning and exposure in all New York State children, whether they live in public or private housing. Here now to share a little bit more about it is Senator Gustavo Rivera, and we welcome him back to the show. And State Senator Rivera, good to have you.
Pleasure to be here, sir.
Good. Let's talk a little bit about Dakota's law. Lead is a problem in a lot of our communities, particularly in public housing. And I know you're introducing Dakota's law, dealing with this. Talk a little bit about that.
So first of all, Dakota is the name of a daughter of a tenant leader in my district. Her name is Tisha Jones. She is the president of Bailey Houses Tenant Association, and she's been living in NYCHA for a long time. Her daughter, sadly, was poisoned by lead. And she actually sued NYCHA and was able to win against NYCHA. But more importantly, she came to our office and she said, I want to make sure that what happened to my daughter happens to no one else. And so she sat down with my staff, and over a couple of months, we worked on a very comprehensive piece of legislation, which we ultimately named Dakota's Law. It was introduced 2 months ago. Now, it does a bunch of things. It's a very comprehensive bill. First of all, it lowers the threshold at which it becomes an emergency. Currently, the standard that is set in the state is to 10 milliliters by, milligrams by deciliter. It's a technical term, but the point is that we actually went from 10 to 5. This bill would make it so that it's a lower threshold, and that raises the standard by being that way. It creates a hotline so that doctors can actually tell the state when there is a contamination. It provides a mechanism by which localities can get money either for testing or remediation. It does a whole bunch of things, and ultimately it was a direct product of Tisha's experience, and she's saying, I want to make sure this happens to no other child, whether they're in public housing or in private housing.
Walk me through this with public housing for a minute, because we know the problems that we've had with NYCHA. How big of a lead problem do you ascertain is here in our borough?
Well, I think certainly the problem has been consistent. The problem has been there for a while, and even though we have put some laws in place over the last decade to be able to deal with them, Once we started discovering, right, that lead paint a couple of decades ago, when we started discovering that lead paint was ultimately poisonous to children, particularly those small children that actually put it in their mouths, or sometimes it can actually leak into water and then people consume it. We've been doing all that we can to get rid of it, but there's still many, many buildings, not only in NYCHA, but certainly in private housing as well, that have lead paint on the wall. So we want to make sure that we can address all of that. It is a big problem when you have buildings as old as some of the NYCHA stock that we have, and I do not want to forget about private housing.
Right.
It is actually a problem everywhere, and ultimately what this bill seeks to do is to help us identify it earlier, identify it in a comprehensive manner, and ultimately make sure that we get rid of it completely.
And we know the challenges with lead, because once a person's impacted with lead, there is no reversal. There is no reversal to it. Give me a little bit about the feedback that you've gotten from your colleagues since it's been introduced.
It's actually funny that you mentioned it. My colleague Jamal Bailey, who's not only an excellent colleague, but he also has two daughters himself, two young daughters. When he saw what there was coverage of it on the newspaper, and in the morning, he texted me immediately. He said, "I want to get on that bill." And I've talked to a couple of other colleagues that are in the same place. I mean, we're obviously not in session right now. We will go back to session in January. But not only have I been able to convince many of my colleagues to jump on, but I sincerely believe that this is a bipartisan bill, something that we can all agree on, whether we're Republicans or Democrats, that we want to make sure that children are protected from lead. And finally, it is very likely that when we go into January, I will go into January as a majority member, and in that point as the chair of the Health Committee in the Senate. And funny enough, this is a bill that goes through the Health Committee in the Senate. So this is one of my priorities for next year. I believe it is a no-brainer and a nonpartisan bill that can actually pass regardless of who leads the Senate.
Talk to us about this here, because when you talk about the issue of lead, obviously we know the numbers continue to rise in lead paint testing. What can we do as a community for those people who are watching right now saying, listen, what can I do to improve? You're putting legislation forward.
Yes.
Somebody here is watching and say, listen, I want to get in on this lead thing. How can I do my part as a community resident to fight against lead?
Well, I think one of the things that you can do is join organizations, local organizations that are organizing, that do tenant organizing, both in public housing and in private housing. To make sure that you can educate your neighbors about the possibility that this might be happening in their homes. Certainly make sure if you have young children, make sure that they are tested. There are current laws in the state, certainly not strong enough, which is the reason why I introduced Dakota's law, but there's state laws still to make sure that children get tested. I want to make sure that everyone who has a child that might potentially be impacted by this gets tested. They should know that the current level, as I said, is 10 milligrams per deciliter, so it's 10. The lead level is 10. We want to lower it to 5. But parents should know that they should demand testing for their children, and if it's between 1 and 10, that they obviously might have a problem. So want to make sure that we can get everybody tested. So I think they should work along with folks that are already organizing and make sure that their children are tested as well.
Well, I got you here, give you an opportunity to share a little bit about your district. Obviously, this is the summertime, a little bit closer to home, not up in Albany. What are you looking at? What's going on in your district during this time?
Well, first of all, on a day like today, when I have to be running around and it is this hot and humid, this is when I love these type of moments, because I know that people are going to be outside. It is harder to wear a suit, which is why the guayabero is my preferred means of transportation, if you will. But it's actually a great time. Weirdly enough, this is the first year that I do not have a primary in my district, and I'm very happy about that, because it means that I've been able to go to the same community events that I always go to without having to ask anybody for anything. I am saying to them, I want to make sure that you know where my office is. Please come by and visit us. And so I've been going to community events, to block parties. I've helped organize a couple of them, family days, etc. We still have a couple of more days. I know today's the first day of school, and I wish all parents and all the children that are going back to school a great first day of school and a great school year. But we still have a couple of more days. It is still hot enough outside to know that it's summer, and we still have a couple of more weekends to go. So I'm looking forward to going and talking to some of my constituents again, without having to ask them for anything, which I love doing.
Yeah, is that a good feeling for you? I mean,
Absolutely.
given the fact that you don't have to worry about a primary. I know a lot of your colleagues out there stumping the ground.
Really?
But yeah.
There's folks with primaries, huh? I'm completely joking. Of course, I know that my colleagues have primaries.
I'm about to say, I'm like,
I
okay.
do not. Listen, I've been paying a lot of attention to what's happening across the state, and I'm very interested to know what the primary events will bring us next week. But it has been good for me to be able to connect with my district, and it's not as hurried. When you have an election day, you're always working towards that election day. In this case, I know that I'm not going to have one.
Right.
So I still talk to my constituency as much as possible, put myself out there as much as possible, and again, not have to ask them for anything, but just offer them help and see if they want anything to do with anything from my office, and I'll offer it to them.
I know we still got some voting to do, but are you optimistic about heading up to Albany and the work that's going to be done? A lot of questions about how things are going to play out.
Yes.
And a lot of people are concerned. Are you pretty optimistic that things will be able to?
I'm pretty optimistic. I think the results of the last couple of weeks, and certainly the results of last night, which showed us even a couple of hard-pressed primaries where progressive candidates and candidates that I would have that certainly speak true to the values that I've been bringing to the Senate since 2010, since I've been there, have won all around the country. I have every intention of working my butt off to make sure that we get more colleagues, more Democratic colleagues in January. I believe that November will bring the blue wave in the state of New York. I believe that we will go into January with a Democratic majority, which is the first time. I've been in the Senate for 8 years. I have not been in the majority for even one day, but I'm looking forward to it because ultimately I want the interests of my constituency to be at that table. I want to be there negotiating the budget. I want to be a part of making sure that we have stronger rent laws. I want to make sure that we have a single-payer system in the state of New York. I want to make sure that we pass Dakota's law. All of these things become possible if we're in majority in January. I have every expectation, but more importantly, I will be helping my colleagues to do the work to make sure that they can win in November, and then we can get to the majority that will come in January to Albany.
All right, New York State Senator Gustavo Rivera, I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing with us here on Open. Best wishes to you, and enjoy the beginning of fall and no primary and all that other stuff.
Looking forward to coming back as a majority member.
All righty. Good to have you, buddy.
Take care.
Take care. New York State Senator Gustavo Rivera, our guest here on Open. Listen, stay with us. We got more show coming up right after this.
For all the papas out there, let's stop what we're doing and take a moment. A moment to be with our kids. They can be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, kooky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count because every time dads take a moment to be with their kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's all take a moment to make a moment today.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund Reading.
No.
Let me try. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words.
Playing world music.
What?
I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
Talking about inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at getschool.com.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Dan, thank you for staying with us. What's happening in the world of politics? Well, the primary election is approaching. Talking about this and much more. This from primary days actually last night, and our political analyst J.C. Polanco joins us here. Good to have you, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Let's talk about this. First of all, let's talk about locally. You know, you got primary day coming right around the corner.
Yeah.
A lot of candidates. What are you seeing?
Look, I see that the incumbents are in good shape. I know that there's a lot of talk about these new insurgents coming out and trying to take out some of our incumbents in the Bronx. I know that Assemblywoman Arroyo is facing a primary down in the South Bronx that's getting a lot of attention throughout the borough. I don't know what's going to happen there, to be honest. You know, when you deal with primary elections, and unfortunately, as you know, I've been here for years complaining about the low turnout in the Bronx. I think that when you look at the primary election in the South Bronx, you're going to have maybe 5% turnout at best. So it's going to be a voter turnout. I mean, who can get more people out? Carmen Arroyo is a trailblazer for Puerto Rican women, and as you know, she was the first Puerto Rican woman elected to the state legislature. I think she has a base. I know you have a new upstart coming out hard, campaigning very hard against her, and I think she's from the style of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I think she may end up getting a lot of the new voters in the district. You have to remember, the Bronx has seen a lot of new people, and I've been in your show many times, and I've said the wonderful things about gentrification as new people come into our borough. I know that Borough President Diaz has made it phenomenal for new people to want to come and invest and live and raise their families here, and I always commend them for that. But one of the externalities of that movement is that you have new people to the borough that have no historical reference point, have new political ideologies, want to participate in the political process, and although they may not have a historical starting point with the community, they're not waiting for their turn. They want to participate, and they'll run now against people like Carmen Arroyo, who've been there for a very long time, against Joe Crowley, as we saw in July, a person who's been there for a very long time. You have a challenger come out of nowhere, take advantage of a low turnout, and new voters in the district that really don't have any historical connection with that incumbent. So you're going to see some very interesting things.
So we know Election Day this year is on Thursday the 13th. Usually we find it on that Tuesday. People are more accustomed to Tuesday. What are we going to expect? I mean, because you talk about low voter turnout, 5%. So is it going to be even lower because we're down on Thursday?
Absolutely. Look, voters in the Bronx and throughout the city and throughout the state are used to Tuesday voting. Our general elections are on Tuesday. So when you change the election day, it creates a problem because people aren't used to it. It's like when we change poll site locations. It throws people off. That change can create an environment where you have a lower turnout. Some people, when you change their poll site, say, forget it, I'm not showing up. Some people, when you change the day and they go to vote and they see nothing there on a Tuesday, chances are they may not even come on a Thursday. So we're going to see even less voter turnout. But the excitement for the Bronx is going to be as far as statewide elections are concerned. You have an exciting primary for Attorney General. You have an exciting primary for Governor. You're going to see a lot of people coming out to vote in these primaries. Perhaps that's going to be a catalyst for us to have some kind of turnout here in the borough.
How much damage does Cynthia Nixon do against the governor given in their debate?
She's awful. She's an awful candidate. Look, I'm sure she's a great activist. I'm sure she's a fantastic actress. She's a great mom. She has no business running to be the chief executive officer of a state government responsible for the lives of 19 million people. She does not have the experience for it. She's demonstrated a lack of knowledge when it comes to the intricacies of state government. We just heard from Senator Rivera. You heard him. He understands the intricacies. He can explain how bills happen. He can explain the committee process. He understands the personalities. She has no idea of that. You can't be governor of the state of New York without having that in your back pocket. You cannot walk into this kind of job. And I think, I went on New York One last week, and I got some heat for it. But I think that if a voter goes in there and consistently votes for people like Cynthia Nixon, and I'll make the argument here, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, you are being irresponsible in your vote. And I know it gets viewers upset. Polanco, how can you say we're responsible? When you don't take a total picture of the responsibilities of the office and analyze the experience of a challenger, see what their views are, see what kind of experience they have to buttress their argument of the vision for their office, and you vote for that person anyway, you've been irresponsible, because at the end of the day, we pay the price.
So then let's talk about the critics who say, listen, I'm looking for my elected official to be in my district, to represent, to come to events, to be present, to have a presence. And when I don't see that, I need to make a change.
I don't think that's true. Look, Jeff Klein is my senator, and I ran against Jeff Klein when I was a young man. And let me tell you, Jeff Klein is at every single, and remember, for the viewers that are watching, I am a moderate Republican. I have no dogs in these races, no horses in these races. This is objective analysis. He's at every Little League game, every single event in the district. I live in the district. I see him everywhere. But the Boy Scouts, my son, who is 11 years old, knows Senator Klein since he was 5. I mean, the guy looks forward to seeing him. He has a challenger from the left. So it's not a matter of you're never there, you're not in the district, that's not true. You just have ideological difference in the Democratic Party today and people that are making challenges to try to take these people out. And the same thing with Congressman Crowley. My district where I live, he was our congressman. He was a speaker to be if the Democrats took the power in November. My district lost out on a potential Speaker of the House of Representatives, the 3rd highest ranking Democrat in the House of Representatives. That's a big deal. And 20 years of seniority, out the window. Not by a Republican that took him out, but by a fellow Democrat. This cannibalization that we're seeing by young upstarts may sound good on paper, but it's irresponsible for the people that live in that district. Now, my district is out. We lost out on that seniority. We lost out on all the billions of dollars that he's brought in. Why? I mean, it really doesn't make sense. And I think Bronx has to start asking themselves, if the person has been corrupt, if the person's not doing their job, and you could go down a litany of reasons why to vote somebody out. But other than that, just because I'm new and exciting and listen to me, I'm from Yorktown, but I'm in the Bronx, give me a break. That's not good enough.
Okay, walk me through this then. I mean, and you have a legitimate claim. You have Democrats who say, listen, you can't win come midterm elections if all your messages is anti-Trump. You gotta have more than that. And people are saying you have, and that's why you have some of this Democratic split and this faction, and people take it on the establishment because they feel as though the Democrats' message is not strong.
It's ridiculous, though. I mean, honestly, I'm providing you with serious analysis. Listen, Bronxnet viewers, don't get mad at me. You're hearing from a moderate Republican who has a lot of Democratic friends. I'm being honest with you. When you cannibalize other Democrats who are consistently winning in Democratic districts, you're doing nothing to gain the majority. You're just eating up your own. The only way that Democrats have any shot at winning the majority is by beating Republicans. I mean, think about it. You cannot consistently ignore those Midwestern states where the voters think that you are a bunch of socialists and will never vote for you, right, if you continue to cannibalize your own. I think that the Democrats have to focus their attention on districts that they need to turn blue. This way, it's not working out. You're not going to win the majority because Ocasio beat Crowley. That's just dumb. It's irresponsible to even think that. The only way that Democrats have a shot at winning the majority is by coming after other Republicans in swing districts.
Do they have a shot at winning the majority?
Of course, but not like this. They're spending all their attention running the most socialist Democrats for office. Let me tell you what that does for Republicans and independent voters like me. When we hear that the Democrats are offering socialism and 54% of Democrats now say socialism is the way, that turns off independent voters in districts where they can actually win. You have swing districts where Congress members that are on the Republican side of the aisle had Hillary win their congressional districts. I mean, those are the districts that you should be coming after. You don't run against a Republican like that with a socialist message. You do what the Democrats did in Pennsylvania with Connor Lamb. Connor Lamb ran in a Republican district with a moderate message and won and picked up a Republican seat. That's how you win the majority, not by cannibalizing fellow Democrats. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
When we look at Florida, we know the race for governor is a big, intense race. We hear a lot that's going on in terms of the president and the president's message really speaking out in favor of Ron DeSantis. How much is the Trump factor going to play a part in these midterm elections?
It really depends. You know, he won Florida in 2016, and Florida is a swing state. I always wish the Bronx was a swing state. You see, everybody pays attention to Florida. Florida is so important. I mean, you should live your life as a swing state, right? You want to be catered to. You want to be courted, and I like that. So Florida is that kind of state. Does the Democrat have a shot? Absolutely. Does the Republican have a shot? Absolutely. Now, the question is, how important is Donald Trump going to be in this election? It all depends on what Bob Mueller comes out with. If Bob Mueller comes out with a scathing report that shows that there was collusion, conspiracy, that he is in fact the unindicted conspirator, and independent-minded voters in Florida are disgusted by it, they may stay home, and Gillum may have a shot of becoming the first African-American governor of Florida.
I got to get out of here, but I got to ask you a question about the Kavanaugh confirmations. What do we expect to see? He's pretty much going to make it in.
Yeah, he has the votes. I mean, the only way to get your Supreme Court justice on the court is by winning elections. And Senator Graham is right. If the Democrats want to stop something like this, they have to win the Senate or they have to win the White House. You can't lose the White House and the Senate and try to determine who sits in the Supreme Court. It's not going to happen. I wish we would have treated Garland differently. We didn't. The country had a choice, however, in November by voting the Republicans out of the Senate for what they did to Garland. They didn't do that. As a matter of fact, they sent them back to the majority in the following year. So we're looking at democracy in action. You're looking at democracy in action with the protests. You're looking at democracy in action with Kavanaugh being there and being a conservative judge. President Donald Trump said, I'm going to put conservatives on if you vote for me. We voted for him. I didn't, but the country did. And now he's putting up conservative judges. I mean, he's doing what he said he was going to do.
All right, J.C. Polanco, that's why we bring in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, J.C. Polanco here with us. Listen, taking a quick break. We got more open coming up right after this.
I'm only 17, but I know about investing. Believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family, the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
Welcome back. Well, Mind Builders, a creative arts center, a not-for-profit organization serving our Bronx community for 40 years, is announcing their annual open house street festival. It's coming back at you this year, and now joining us to talk a little bit more about it is Waldo Chavez, who's the Mind Builders Music Department Director, and Maveda Hughes, who is the Mind Builders Dance Department Director. Both of them join us here, and first of all, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Second of all, congratulations.
Yes.
40 years and going.
Hey.
That's it. That's it. Well, talk to us about this here. So, you got this 40-year celebration, and really, a street fair is coming, and you're looking for the public to come on out.
Yes, we are.
That's pretty much it. We've had a few celebrations throughout the year. This is our big one.
Yeah.
We closed down the whole block where we are. We have street vendors. We have a big stage that we set up. This year we're going to have a bouncy house for the kids, cotton candy, everything. There's food, there's performances all day. This year it's going to be very interesting. We have Will Calhoun from the legendary rock band Living Colour, the drummer. He's going to be performing, as well as our students. And one of our main parts of the performance is we have a talent show. I'm going to have Mel explain to you a little bit more about that. And also, we have sample classes going on throughout the day. Everything is free. It's a great family environment. So we urge everybody to please come out and meet us. And you can have tours of the building. We have amazing African art in the building. We're going to have tours of that as well.
I'll let Mel take it away.
Yes.
Okay, well, Bronx has talent.
Right.
Like major talent. And this is really just an opportunity for us to showcase the young people, age 8 to 18, who have some talent. We want them to come out and show it. and share it with the rest of the community. Mind Builders has always been committed. Our main thing is we want to showcase and mentor talent. So this is the opportunity. There are cash prizes for the winners also. That, you know, a little sweetening never hurts.
Right.
Our auditions, we have 2 auditions coming up. Saturday, September 8th at 11, and Tuesday, the 11th of September at 4 o'clock. And we want to see young people come and show us what they got going on.
So for somebody who does not know about Mind Builders, I mean, of course I do, but our viewers, somebody may be watching, say, hey, what's Mind Builders all about? Listen.
Okay, so Mind Builders, I always say this, is the best place on earth. We're basically an arts school, right? We have classes, music classes, many instruments, many different styles, dance classes, many different styles of dance, all ages from 4 to 150. You know, we have
martial arts.
Martial arts. We have a youth theater company, and we have a folk culture program that's sponsored by the Smithsonian. If you go to Mind Builders, let's say on a Saturday, about 400 people go through that building, and it's like going to a family reunion. It's amazing. I would urge anybody to just come and experience that part of it. There's music going on everywhere, people dancing everywhere. We have performances throughout the day. It's great.
And it's a great place because you know, in today's society, I always talk about this on the show, you know, especially in the education school system. Arts, entertainment, sports, they're always the first ones on the cutting line.
Definitely.
But then to have an opportunity to come to a place and to be able to practice your craft, learn your craft, develop your craft, it's got to be something special.
And I would also like to add, we have many classes for adults. A few years back, we said, you know, we are really taking good care of the young people. We saw the parents just sitting in the lobby, reading their books, doing whatever. We said, and you know, a couple parents said, like, what about for us? What's for us? We have hip hop for adults. We have African dance for adults. We have modern dance for adults. We have praise dance for adults. We also have a new class called Afro Beats, which is the hottest thing going. We have that for adults and young people. So I think we deserve a visit because we have a lot of stuff going on, and I think
like
people
that.
will love it. I think we deserve a visit. We do.
Yeah.
We do. We're a family atmosphere. We're very welcoming. We love seeing people come through the door. So, you know, come on out. Check us out.
Definitely.
You won't be disappointed.
So we want to tell people, once again, come on out to the street fair, and going to tell them what the street fair. Then you also got another event a little while here.
Yes. On November 3rd, we are going to have our final event of the year, which is going to be a big gala, and we are so fortunate that Esperanza Spalding, famous bass player, singer, she is going to be an honoree, and she's going to be there, and she's going to perform, and we're going to have performances by our students. It's going to be an amazing night. So I would urge everybody. The publicity should be out very soon. We're just trying to get through to September 15th. September 15th is from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Rain or shine.
Rain or shine. And please come out. I'd just like to mention one last thing. Our registration is open at the moment, and it is, this year, it is through the roof. And so we urge anybody who wants to register to please do it now, so you're not left without classes, especially if you all have you know, special schedules in mind, or teachers, or certain instruments or dance styles.
All right.
I'd like to do one more thing. I want to shout out to Mind Builders alumni. We've been around for 40 years. We have students who have come back, brought their children, their grandchildren. We're going to be doing some special events that we want to target our alumni. So if you've ever been a part of Mind Builders, come on out, come on back, come on home. Come and check out this new building. If you've not been, it's been renovated. It is beautiful. It will make you gasp with pride. Okay, so alumni, I'm shouting you out.
That's it. Rivera, Waldo, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Congratulations on the 40 years, and looking forward for a great street festival and all the rest. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
All right, listen, we want you to stay with us. We got more open coming up. Don't go anywhere. Come right back right after this.
patriotism. It inspires passionate debate, and it's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Why don't you ever see elephants hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. Yeah, I get it.
And we are back here on Open. The hashtag IAMME campaign was created to build a community to uplift and uphold those who've cultivated their authentic power after defeat. Now, joining us to tell us a little bit more about the IAMME campaign is founder Rosa Garcia. Good to have you with us.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So give us a little bit about IAMME, and you talk about really helping people after defeat.
I just want people to be the original selves. I feel like society plays a big role. We're always trying to fit in. I have 2 girls, and I just want them to be confident in who they are. And I just feel like we're all original. Everyone has a social security number. It's never repeated. And I think that you cannot be repeated. And I just want people to love who they are. If you make any changes to yourself, do it for yourself, not for anyone else.
So when you talk about IAMME and you talk about, being original, being yourself, talk about what inspired you to really do this.
My daughter, she's 11, and she was being picked on in school a little bit for being different, and she was afraid to stand up for herself. And I had to kind of be her role model, so I decided to. That's why my hair is this short. I cut my hair because I was not as confident as I used to be because I was trying to fit in. And I decided that for my girls, I have to be my confident self, love who I am. And now she's more confident than I am.
Really?
Yes.
So the message that you really want to send, you got an event coming up too as well.
I have an event tomorrow, and I want people to also know that the IAMME campaign is also towards men. So I join forces with the Lives of Men and the Gentleman's Factory. So we're going to be having a panel tomorrow. We're also going to have hand-rolled cigars. Jack Daniels is going to sponsor Casa Noble and some Hannah designs. So I think everybody should come in.
Come on out, right?
Yes.
So we got a bag here. Show a little bit, tell us about the bag.
Yes, I have merchandise as well. You can find it at 31agency.com. I also encourage you guys under Humans to submit your stories. I am going to be raffling a 3-day vacation, villa stay to Bali, and it's going to include airport pickup, breakfast for 2, and massage for 2. So I just want people to take that time to really find themselves and connect with themselves. So all you have to do is buy your ticket, and now we'll give you the villa.
So, as a matter of fact, when we talk about this here, you've had to find yourself.
I did. I went to Turks and Caicos by myself for 3 days, and it helped me. And this is where my confidence started to build. And I think that now I want to give it back to somebody else. And why not go to Bali? I would like to go, but I'll give it to somebody.
Somebody's got to stay around and do the work, right?
Yes.
What are some of the big barriers that we have? I mean, when you talk about finding yourself and helping people to find themselves, what are the barriers that people have nowadays that are preventing people from discovering who they really are?
A lot of bullying, and I feel like sometimes in relationships, we're always trying to change ourselves. We want to change our hair, we want to change our makeup, the way we dress, for people to like us. And then when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're still unhappy with the way you are. So why are you changing yourself if you don't like what you see? Little by little, I stopped wearing so much makeup that now I like what I see in the mirror. And I want that for everyone else.
And so the message that you send is continue to be who you are. But talk about that defeat thing, because defeat is real. A lot of people experience it.
Yeah.
And how did you have to overcome it?
Well, I went to therapy.
That's good.
Yeah, and she kind of helped me find the little voice inside of me. And I feel like your mind, could play a big part, because that little voice inside your head can either hurt you or help you. And I was able to turn it off. And now I am more confident than ever. And I mean, if you have to go to therapy, go to therapy. But you definitely should always speak up. Find someone that you feel confident talking to. And don't be afraid to be judged, because we always need some support. And I feel like that's why so many suicidals and bullying and people are just so depressed.
So walk us through the event again for people who want to come through. What do they do?
Tomorrow the event is at 6:30 at My Haven Bar and Grill. And definitely you guys should come. You could go to 31 Agency at Instagram, and the link is there as well.
Make sure you come on out and check it out. Rosa Garcia, who's the founder of IAMME, is here with us, sharing a little bit about her experience, her event, and the things that are come. Give some final advice to people out there who are watching. What should they know when it talks about being themselves and being authentic? Because we hear that word all the time. Be authentic, be yourself, but what's the best advice you can give?
Stop trying to fit in. Just stand out, and that's it. No
Just
one
that
can
simple.
be, I swear. It's that simple. We're making it more complicated than what it is.
And it took you however long to find out, right?
It took me a while. I'm in my late 30s, but I found myself.
There you go.
Yes.
Well, good to have you. Rosa
Thank
Garcia,
you.
founder of IAMME. Make sure you come out and support her event. And certainly, she has a story to tell, and the story continues to be told. All right, taking a quick break. We'll be back with more Open. Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made this vacation happen.
Double points with every purchase?
Cleverly merging promotions.
Love it.
Cross-referencing travel sites. And booking all your flights with those...
Vouchers. I got us bumped.
They were like, oh. But now they're like... Aloha. You aced this vacation. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek. So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
And we're back here on Open. Well, September is Life Insurance Month. Now, it's a difficult topic to talk about, but it's important to have life insurance to secure the financial future of your loved ones. Joining us now is Dolores Batista, Allstate insurance agent, and we welcome you to the show. Good to have you.
Good to be here, really, and thank you for having me.
We've known each other for years, and this is like, new.
It's like old home week.
Yes.
My son learned his craft here with you and Max and Gary and all these people, and he's still, even though he's doing something different,
right,
he's still does filming and editing, and for Fit Body Boot Camp where he works, and he loves it.
Yeah.
I wanted him to go into my profession, maybe pass the baton to him, but
no,
that's not for him.
It's not for him.
No.
Well, let's talk about what's for you.
Well,
you're doing life insurance, and you're helping people with life insurance. As we said in the intro, it's a really tough decision or thing to talk about for a lot of people.
Yeah, my mission is to talk to everybody about life insurance. People always put it in the back burner because they don't like to talk about dying, exactly what you said. But it's important because we all have a number, and I hope we all live to be 100, but sometimes that doesn't happen, as you well know. Not too long ago, I had a client who was healthy, didn't smoke, was, and married with 2 kids, and he died of a heart attack, 45 years old. Wow. Fortunately, I had talked him into, persuaded him to buy a life insurance policy. So I was able to give his widow not $100,000, $1 million. He was awesome. Insured for $1 million. And when you have small children, it sounds like a lot of money, but he had a mortgage, and talking about educating children, you know how much that costs. So it's important, and I think it's so important to protect the things that you have. So I always talk about renter's insurance and insuring your apartment as well. I mean, it costs less than maybe $1 a day, to insure your stuff. And we were talking about NYCHA before, and sometimes people tell me, I live in NYCHA, I don't need apartment insurance. Everything in your house, everything in your apartment belongs to you, and if you had to replace it, where do you get the money? I mean, they have, there's a fire. The company will actually give you money to stay at another apartment, another hotel for up to a year. Usually Red Cross will put you up for 2 nights, and then you have to look for some place to go.
If you're lucky, right.
Yeah, so, and you don't want to end up, just even in a shelter with your family. I mean, that can happen when people don't have family and friends to help them out.
So give me this, because some people say, I don't want to enter the life insurance. It's too expensive. It's too costly.
Actually, the insurance that I was telling you about, that $1 million policy, was costing maybe about $500 a year. It was term insurance, which he had hoped to convert to permanent insurance. Term insurance is like renting an apartment. Permanent insurance, life insurance, is like buying a house. So you're investing, and it costs more, but you're also accumulating cash value. So, and you can borrow that money later on, or use it for a child's education. I mean, there are a lot of different ways. Or you can have term and permanent insurance at the same time. I think you have to find somebody that you trust. A lot of people that I know just never really found anybody that they felt comfortable with. I'm with a great company. I've been with them for over 30 years. I was the first Latina hired in the Bronx back in the day. So I just love what I do. And people are always asking me when I'm going to retire, and I tell them never, because I mean, when you love what you're doing, you might as well just keep doing what you're doing, So
what are some of the common things that people must know about life insurance?
Well, I always tell people they should get life insurance when they're young, because it costs less. The older you get, the more it's going to cost you. While you're still healthy, because if you you start getting a heart condition or cancer or something like that, you're not going to be insurable. And that can happen with people at any time. We also have something called Allstate benefits, which are supplemental benefits that organizations can offer their employees, so that if, let's say there's 50 employees in a company, and about 12% of the employees decide that they want the life insurance or the other critical illness insurance, for example, they can get that, and with no medical. So it gives employees an opportunity, employers to give an opportunity to their employees to buy coverage for themselves, even though they may not be eligible under normal circumstances. So there are no medical questions. I think we just have to be realistic and know that we have to prepare. And if you love your family, in fact, I don't call it life insurance, I call it love insurance. Because if you love your family, you want to make sure that they're going to be okay, even if you are not around.
Right. And we find, sadly enough, a lot of people transition And don't have insurance.
Yeah, and then, you know, it's like getting a collection, just even to have a funeral.
GoFundMe. We see a lot of people with GoFundMe,
right? And you know, but then what happens after that? I can give you an example of a couple who didn't have children. They were both earning big bucks, well over $200,000 a year. He died, and then their life changed because that salary was gone, so now they're living on half. Then she lost her job and was out of work for several months, and it really impacted them, impacted her. She couldn't keep her apartment, I mean, so people don't think that these things are going to happen, but they do, and I've been in the business for a long time, so I've seen a lot of things happen, and I know that you have to prepare financially,
So if somebody's out there watching right now and says, listen, I hear you, I'm convicted, how do I get started?
All you have to do is make a phone call. If you call my office or an agent that you already know, call them and talk about, just get a little bit of information about life insurance. And just with your little bit of information, we'd be able to give you an idea of what it would cost you and, find out how much you need, So. Just call an agent, call me, and find out.
We'll make sure the information's at the bottom of the screen. And certainly we want to thank you for coming in. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Daren. Really, it was great seeing you. You don't change.
No, I've aged a little bit. We've been here for.
No. You're looking
great.
great.
Known people for years, they say that, but no, we've been here for a minute. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All righty, listen, everybody. I want to let you know, unfortunately we have come to the end of our show today, but want to thank our guests for joining us, all of them, and most of all, you, the viewer, now for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, what you can do is you can catch the Recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum's Channel 67. And then, if you have Verizon Files, of course, you check us out on Channel 33. Anytime, though, the World Wide Web at Bronxnet.org. You can find out about Open and a whole lot of other shows. For all of us here on the set of Open, I'm Daren Jaime saying take care, God bless. Also, a big shout out to those who are watching on the MNN channel. And listen, we'll see you soon. Friday, as a matter of fact, fresh new episode of Open. Rena Valentine will bring it to you. Take care, everybody. God bless.
God bless.
If you want to stay in the know about the latest happenings en español, check out Diálogo Abierto, Bronxnet's own Spanish show, Wednesdays 6:30 p.m. on Channel 67. The latest in news, arts, culture, politics, and what's going on in your neighborhood. Diálogo Abierto, the best way to stay connected in Spanish. See you there. Te esperamos.